part of this search, and Chris Spielman is back. I think they're doing a great job of rallying the troops, making sure everybody feels like they're still a part of the conversation, that they're still a member of the Detroit Lion family. And I think there's nothing bad that can come of that, only positives. And it does it translate into wins on the field? No, it really doesn't have anything to do with that. But it's about running a business. It's about, paying homage to those who have gone out on the field. And I think it's great that they're doing that.
And maybe, some of the questions that were submitted, maybe they can be helpful down the line. I don't know. I do know this, that for a while, the former players, the alumni, so to speak, felt a little disconnected.
Yeah.
And that's been brought back a little bit over the past, 3 to 4 years or whatever. I think it all started coming back again when they honored the 91 team.
Mm-hmm.
For winning the playoff game.
And I will say this, even though I was there about a year and a half, I still get a lot of communication, and maybe this was in one of those communications. I didn't pay attention closely enough to it, but there's also the NFLPA has done a good job of creating, little pockets around the country for, guys that played in Detroit. There's communication from the NFLPA Detroit in regards to that, and I think the Lions are tapping into that as well. And just, you can learn so much from the past, and we're trying to figure out, what is Sheila Hamp Ford, what is she going to be doing that's different than her mom or than Mr. Ford. And this is part of her trying to figure out, okay, what has worked before, what hasn't worked, and moving forward in a different direction, and maybe not in a complete different direction, but at least with a different feel.
Yeah, what do you think, and moving from that part of it, the fact that they are meeting with Ed Dodds today. Ed Dodds obviously has some interest because he turned down the interview request from the Carolina Panthers.
Yeah.
So that's a good sign that, at least somebody who is highly respected wants to move up possibly with the Detroit Lions. Now, whether they offer them the job or not. I'm also hearing that he and Saleh are connected somehow.
Well, he was at Seattle.
And Saleh was there.
And we talked last week about John Schneider, and I'm hoping that that's still maybe a possibility. I think that'd be a home run. Everybody would love that John Schneider would leave Seattle and come here, depending on what we would have to give up to make that happen. But if you're not going to get him, then Ed Dodds spent a decade over in Seattle, I think it was a decade, in regards to learning about what they do there, how they built the Legion of Boom, and how John Schneider works. And now he's spent, 4 years in Indy with Chris Ballard, learning how he's done it. And again, building a defense and learning more about, how all of the aspects of being a GM. And it's not just, hey, signing this player, giving it to the coach. There are so many different facets about being a GM, and he's experienced a lot of those.
When you hear that the former players, or one of them said to me that, we think they know what they're going to do already, is that a good sign, or do you think one way or the other, right?
I think you can take it one way or the other. I mean, it's, everybody has everybody comes away from a conversation with a different take and a different experience. And so whether or not maybe they have figured out who it is, and more power to them, I love it that they're going to, and we love this term here in Detroit, complete the process.
Yeah, well, sometimes the process doesn't work. I'm wearing a sweatshirt that's trust the process, and that hasn't resulted in any titles in Philadelphia.
But the process it's a little bit more thorough than it was last time.
Yes.
And the fact that they've interviewed 11 GMs now, they're going to get a good idea of exactly what they want. And Arthur Smith coming in for an interview, Dan Campbell came in for an interview. I think you cannot talk to too many people before you make this decision. You just can't.
All right, you guys, would you rather have Dodds or Riddick?
I'd rather have Dodds.
I'd rather have Dodds. He's more recent. I mean, Riddick did a nice job where he was, but he's been gone for a while. Dodds, everybody that you talk to says he's the next guy up and coming, and he's worked with 2 really good organizations. Mm-hmm. So, that would be my preference. I wouldn't not like Louis Riddick, but Dodds would be preference. Coming up after Tony's update, should the Lions consider somebody else? 97.
WXYT FM and WXYT HD1 Detroit. A radio.com sports station. Sports headlines all day, every day. From the Sold by YC Sports Desk, this is 97.1 The Ticket.
As expected, Alabama wins this year's national title in college football as the Crimson Tide crush Ohio State 52-24 last night in Miami. That victory gives head coach Nick Saban the 7th national championship of his career. That's the most of any head coach in college football history. The Lions are set to conduct 2 more interviews today as team officials will talk with Tennessee Titans offensive coordinator Arthur Smith and Indianapolis Colts assistant GM Ed Dodds. By the way, that Dodds interview could be a very important one since there are unconfirmed reports this morning that Dodds' choice for a head coach, if he's named GM, would be 49ers defensive coordinator Robert Saleh. Statement issued last night, New England Patriots head coach Bill Belichick confirms that he won't accept the Presidential Medal of Freedom, which he was reportedly going to receive from President Donald Trump on Thursday. Michigan will look to stay undefeated on the college basketball season as the Wolverines take on Wisconsin tonight at Chrysler Center. Here's head coach Juwan Howard.
Wisconsin, as we all know, throughout this season has shown that they are one of the elite teams in NCAA basketball. And also one of the lead teams in the Big Ten, so it's going to be a very competitive game.
Hear that contest over on AM 950, starting with the pregame show at 6:30. Training camp officially came to a close for the Red Wings yesterday as team officials had waived 9 players, including former first-round pick Evgeny Svechnikov. The Wings will need to trim their roster down to 23 players before the deadline arrives in the NHL at 5 p.m. this evening. At the Ticket Update Desk, I'm Tony Ortiz. For more, stay tuned to 97.1 The Ticket and radio.com.
Live from the Jamie Samuelson Studios, Stoney and Jansen on 97.1 The Ticket.
Good morning and thank you, T.O. Our telephone number is 248-539-9797. That's also the ticket text as well. And you can text us, call us, open lines as always. Coming up on the program this hour, we'll do our nominees for the best number 72 in Detroit, Michigan sports history. New Tiger Robbie Grossman will join us at 8 o'clock. And Dylan Larkin, who's the second best 71 of all time, which makes us at 9:35. All right. The Philadelphia Eagles did surprise many. I was not completely surprised. I told John this. That Doug Peterson might get fired, and he was fired. And a lot of it had to do with, the final straw. I should say the final straw, I guess, was what happened in their last game in Washington. We put Nate Sudfeld in instead of Jalen Hurts, and, that type of whole thing, the way he defended it. And, but it was much more than that. He got into a power struggle with the general manager, it seemed. Howie Roseman, him and Carson Wentz were not seeing eye to eye. He's still technically, the franchise quarterback, especially because how much money he makes. And met with Jeffrey Lurie, and they decided to, it's time. Doug Peterson obviously did a hell of a job there. Made the playoffs, 3 times in his time in Philly, including winning a Super Bowl. The franchise's first Super Bowl. And then 3 years later, he's fired.
It happens quickly.
Yeah, it did. It turned in a hurry.
It does, and I want to talk more about this, but I just want to point out one dynamic when we talk about Urban Meyer, or we talk about Pat Fitzgerald. We talk about a lot of these guys going from college football to the NFL. What you just mapped out in regards to his relationship with the GM, his relationship with his quarterback, his relationship with some of the players, the dynamic is so much different in the NFL. You find out where that power actually lies, and when your quarterback signs a $100+ million contract, the power lies with that quarterback. And if you have a rocky relationship with them, a lot of times they're going to take the side of the players because that's where the biggest investment is. I'm surprised because it is only 3 years from a Super Bowl run, and when you look at this roster this past year, they were devastated by injuries. And I know that you could say, well, there's excuses, and you can pile those up for any team that doesn't make the playoffs or doesn't win the Super Absolutely.
I mean, look, he might have lost the locker room there towards the end, because of what happened. But the players, I never heard anything really bad about him from the players up until the last game of the season.
And
I know he can be a little stubborn, and I know he had issues, with control of his staff, which I think the head coach should have complete control of his staff. And that was something that he battled for a while. And you could argue, well, when Frank Reich left, that's when, they went downhill a little bit. There's some truth to that, obviously. But, Wentz also got hurt last year as well. And they almost pulled out a miracle with McCown at quarterback, right?
Right. And so when you look at what he's been able to do, the Lions certainly should pick up the phone and make that call, because when you interview people, and we talked about this just a minute ago, in regards to, do you still continue to interview GMs even though maybe you've made your decision? Do you continue to interview coaches even though maybe you've made your decision? Well, you get a chance to interview a coach that has won a Super Bowl. Mm-hmm. And you get a chance to learn in that interview, what were the dynamics of that team that won the Super Bowl? What were the dynamics that, caused this team to fall apart? And maybe it changes your mind about who you already made up. And it's not that you want to shift and hire Doug Peterson. Maybe you do. But maybe it changes your mind about a Dan Campbell, an Arthur Smith, a Robert Saleh, or whoever it is that you've picked out as your coach that you're talking about, because you had a chance to interview a guy that's been there, done that.
Yeah, and he does have a pretty good offensive mind. He did work and play under Andy Reid for a long time, so he knows the offensive game, obviously. And if you hire the right defensive coordinator, that can help. And it's always obviously about what players you have. You have to find out when you do your investigation. You got to talk to former players of his. Mm-hmm. You pick up the phone and you talk to, believe it or not, well, he would, I'm sure if Sheila or Chris Spielman called Darius Slay, he would give an honest answer, right?
Sure.
Okay. I would think Brandon Graham would let people know, Doug Peterson, be a good guy to coach in your hometown.
Yeah, absolutely. And so you want to get as many, it's called due diligence, right?
Yeah.
You get a chance, and we all have letters of reference. We all have people that we use as references. Hey, call this person. And you want to talk to those that are going to speak favorably. You also want to talk to those that are not going to speak favorably and find out what went wrong in this relationship, because this is a relationship business.
Oh, yeah. And also I talked to Schwartz. He's taking a year off allegedly, but just his thoughts about Peterson as a head coach.
Sure.
You do. You get as much information as possible. Would I be surprised if the Lions interviewed him? Yes.
Oh, you would?
I would be surprised.
Why, just because it's so late?
Yeah.
Or
I just think they probably made their mind up as or how many guys they're going to talk to. That's just my guess.
Yeah.
I have no idea. I would encourage them to talk to him, because maybe it is the right fit.
Mm-hmm. I wonder how Doug Peterson would do in an interview right now. Coming off a obviously stressful year with having to deal with COVID protocols, having to deal with a 4-win team. Because we heard and we used the soundbite earlier in the year about him on a local radio show talking about and showing his passion and wishing that we had heard that from any coach here at the Detroit Lions, specifically Matt Patricia most recently, but. This is not a guy, this is a former player. He's not just a guy that uses, notes or analytics. He's a guy that has his emotions on his sleeve. I'm curious as to how he would interview for another job the day after he just got fired from his Super Bowl winning performance, that he had with the Philadelphia Eagles.
42-37-1 in 5 seasons. They were 4-11-1 this year. I thought it was pretty funny. The Eagles put out a statement. In a statement, we thank Doug. We look forward to his inclusion in the Philadelphia Eagles Hall of Fame. But you're fine. You mentioned, his interaction on the radio program. Maybe he could come in here and walk into the Dungeon of Doom and put a smile on people's faces. Speaking of the guy who came up with the Dungeon of Doom, Jim Caldwell. Caldwell has finally emerged as somebody that the Houston Houston Texans appear to be very, very interested in.
You mean a former Lions coach should get another head job?
That would unbelievable.
So the whole SOL thing would be that the Lions make the wrong hire again, and then Texans, win a Super Bowl with Caldwell.
Yeah, exactly. Deshaun Watson does something Matthew Stafford can never do. Go to a Super Bowl. Yeah, well, whatever. But, maybe with that volatile situation that's going on in Houston, maybe, mild-mannered Jim Caldwell, players, coach, he can be tough when he has to. Maybe that's a perfect time for them. I'm sure Deshaun Watson, might like him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and
I know, although you don't think he should have any say whatsoever, but yeah.
That's not what I said.
Well, he's upset that they didn't even interview Dan.
Yes,
and I think he has a good point.
He should be.
And they should have been wise enough to know that we should interview him even if we're not going to hire him.
Right.
At least the
Fan base.
Watson.
Any fan base should be upset if you don't hire, if you don't interview one of the hot names that in the coaching carousel right now.
That's why, I think it was last week, I was a little upset. We talked about how the Lions hadn't interviewed Ed Dodds. So that, they know he doesn't want to come here. And then, boom, today they're going to interview Ed Dodds. So that's good.
I had to double check last night. I'm like, wait a second. Because I think Dave Burkett of the Free Press was the first one to tweet it out. And I saw it, and I thought, wait a second, we just talked about this morning. Yeah. And all of a sudden we hear this. Let me double check this. And sure enough.
John, you're a powerful human. You played for the Lions. Now the Lions are on our radio station. You suggest Ed Dodds. I suggest Ed Dodds. They don't care about me, but you.
Hey, we make it happen.
You make it happen. I
appreciate that.
They listen. That's a wonderful thing. Our telephone number is 248-539-9797. Heather has news coming up next.
So COVID has canceled one of Detroit's biggest annual events yet again, but it's not exactly going away completely. So I'm going to fill you in on all things auto show next.
All right. Speaking of the auto show, there's no better dealership than Taylor Chevrolet. Mark and the guys there.
In 1 mile, turn left onto West 14 Mile Road.
Two of my cars there. My daughter has a car there, and they're nice. The service is outstanding. The smile on your face when you walk in. Smile's still there when you walk out. They just got to take care of you. And they have an easy solution to people who might not have the credit score that they want. Check out helpgetalone.com. Guaranteed acceptance of all credit applications. Apply now for instant loan pre-approval. Experts are online ready to assist you. If you're at a repo, bankruptcy, or poor credit, you want to do a pre-owned car, truck, just go ahead to Taylor Chevrolet. They get loans for people with bad credit. That's their expertise. Regardless of your credit score. Apply now. Helpgetalone.com. Fill out an app. Get pre-approved. Next thing you know, you're driving away with a great Taylor Chevrolet. They've been helping Metro Detroiters get auto loans for years. Like I said, great people there, great service. They take care of you. They trust you. And you should. They trust you as a human being, and you trust them because they're the greatest. With foreclosures,
light,
bankruptcy,
turn left onto West 14 Mile Road, then turn right onto Inkster Road.
Taylor Chevrolet, helpgetalone.com. Buying your next new vehicle is a click away, and Stoney sent you.
97.1 The Ticket. Traffic.
From the WWJ AM 950 Traffic Center. In Clinton Township, Rosebud southbound is still closed from 16 Mile Metro Parkway to Carlier Street, which is just south of Metro Parkway. That's due to an early morning accident. You can use Gratiot Avenue or Garfield to get around it. And keep in mind there's some road work today. Left and right lane closure scheduled for road work on M59 both directions at M53 Van Dyke Freeway. I'm Michelle Pena with traffic.
The only way you can take 97.1 The Ticket with you is the radio.com app. Download it today and listen to us anytime, anywhere.
At the stop sign, turn right onto Inkster Road.
If you live above an untreated crawl space, Michigan's brutal winter means cold floors and high heating bills. The experts at Foundation Systems of Michigan have the solution with their exclusive Vapor Lock system. By insulating your crawl space,
In
you can reduce
1.4
your heating
miles,
bills by up to
turn right onto
25%.
Northwestern Highway.
Right now, take advantage of the best pricing of the year during the winter savings event. Call the experts at Foundation Systems of Michigan today for your free inspection.
Hi, I'm David Hall from Hall Financial. Mortgage interest rates are at historic lows, and now's the time to have Hall Financial refinance your home loan. You can shave years off your loan, cut down your payment, or consolidate your debt. Hall Financial can even close your loan in half the time of the competition, all while giving you 5-star service. Don't miss out on these historically low rates. Visit davidhallmortgage.com and start saving now.
Hall Financial, NMLS ID 1467435, Equal Housing Lender.
While we've been staying safe at home, scientists have been on a journey. The destination, a COVID-19 vaccine. This journey began decades ago with research into other coronaviruses. Scientists built from there with months of research and development, cooperation with other experts worldwide, and clinical trials on tens of thousands of volunteers of diverse race, age, and health status. They arrived at a safe, effective vaccine, and hundreds of thousands in Michigan have already been vaccinated. But the next step is ours. We
In
need
half
to
a
get the
mile,
vaccine when
turn
we
right
can,
onto Northwestern
keep wearing
Highway.
masks correctly, and taking precautions until we reach our destination. Freedom from COVID-19 and getting back to the lives we love. Discover the facts for yourself at michigan.gov/COVID vaccine. A message from the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services.
Wendy's Baconator is the ultimate bacon cheeseburger that puts all other cheeseburgers to cheeseburger shame. And now we're bringing that same big bacon energy to shake up and break up your breakfast with the Breakfast Baconator.
At the light,
Stacked with
turn
the
right
fresh
onto
egg,
Northwestern
sausage,
Highway.
cheese, and bacon. And right now, you can get a free Breakfast Baconator with purchase in the Wendy's app. So get to Wendy's and always be baconating. You got it. Offer available in participating U.S. Wendy's for a limited time during breakfast hours only. Offer must be redeemed in the app. Account registration required.
You're ready to get back into yoga.
Begin
What
to-
are the essentials? A non-slip mat, yoga blocks to keep balance, and an exercise ball. And you use your Bank of America Cash Rewards credit
Starting
card,
route
choosing to earn 3%
14998
cash
Denver
back on
Avenue.
online shopping and up to
Making a
5.25%
turn.
as a preferred rewards member, which you put towards your most essential yoga gear. Noise-canceling headphones.
In 6.2 miles,
Apply for yours
take
at
exit 14C onto
bankofamerica.com/mobileward.
M39 and
Copyright
Southfield
2020 Bank of
Freeway.
America Corporation.
Have you wanted to speak a new language but thought it would be too difficult? Then try Babbel. Babbel starts by teaching you words and phrases that gradually get more complex. Soon, you're practicing short conversations. So in 15 minutes a day, you'll be speaking a new language in a few weeks. Babbel is built around real life. It teaches you practical conversations that you will actually use. Babbel. Language for life. Start the new year with a new language. Get up to 60% off now at Babbel.com. That's BABBEL.com. It's crunchy!
Salty. Nature Valley's sweet and salty peanut bars. Bursting with crunchy peanuts, dipped in creamy nut butter coating. Delicious. Nature Valley.
Did you know there's more than one Las Vegas? There's the Strip with families on vacation and questionable odds. And there's downtown Vegas, the original gambling and entertainment mecca. That's where you'll find the D Las Vegas. Book your stay today at thedee.com. The D Las Vegas, your home for Detroit sports in Vegas. Helmet to helmet contact. Legal here.
All right, it's news time. Here she is at a park. Good morning.
All right, guys, good morning. Are you ready for some seriously cold weather?
No.
And snow? Oh, I am. I could maybe do with not seriously cold, but a little colder so we get some snow, and it sounds like that is going to happen because the polar vortex is about to split, and it could bring a big winter storm by MLK Day, which is Monday.
Oh.
So, I'm excited for this. I'm ready.
A splitting polar vortex. That sounds.
Turn right
it
onto
sounds
Northwestern
amazing.
Highway.
All right, when you're talking major storm, how much are we talking like?
Well, I don't
a
have
foot of
exact.
snow? What are they
Well,
projecting?
I don't have projections for
Okay.
here in Detroit. This is more